And I'm here today in Singapore at the Young Women's Breast Cancer Conference. This has really been a great conference discussing not just new treatment options and how we might tailor treatment options for younger women, but I think even more importantly, talking about some of the unique issues that young women face. For example, fertility questions, specific toxicity issues, and the issues of survivors, patients who are taking endocrine therapy, how to work on adherence and issues like that. I think we learned a lot about the fact that in patients with hormone receptor positive disease, there are different biologies, and we really need to be thinking about young women differently. But patients who have triple negative disease, for example, or HER2 positive disease, we're really treating based on the biology primarily, but considering the additional implications for patients such as on fertility. So it's really been a great discussion. We've had some amazing tumor boards talking about young women who have unique cancer issues, and when we're talking about those young women and their unique issues, we're really getting a multidisciplinary input into how to manage cancer for those patients who have kind of unusual and difficult to manage cases. So where is the future of the treatment of breast cancer in young women? I think that there has been increasing emphasis on a number of areas. One, that clinical trials really need to carve out a treatment questions for young women. So, we've seen now that there are some large clinical trials that have given us a lot of information on treatment options that are more effective for young women, premenopausal women for hormone receptor positive disease, both in the early stage and metastatic settings. But I think the future really needs to include a greater carve-out for young women, really understanding how is toxicity different for young women, what considerations do we have, how are we dealing with, for example, issues with fertility for women who have metastatic disease, and how are we managing adherence to endocrine therapy in young women. And then lastly, what are the long-term issues for survivors from breast cancer? We're curing more and more women with early-stage breast cancer, and women who are young tend to present with more locally advanced disease. What's the fallout from treatment 10, 20, 30 years out? We just really don't have very good data on that, particularly not with our newer types of therapies. So that's where the future is, and I think that this having increasing interest and a lot of people focusing in this area makes a big difference. There's also, I think, an interest in having programs that focus on young women with breast cancer, and there are some really great examples. Ann Partridge and Dana-Farber has developed a program, as have many others. ASCO is focused on this, and I think looking at sort of issues with sexual function, there are faculty at this meeting, Dawn Dizon and others, who have really focused on this as well. Young programs focusing on young women can really develop both educational and treatment programs that focus on these issues, which are relatively greater in young women than in older women. So I'm hopeful that focusing on young women in these conferences will allow more programs to develop specific support systems for young women with breast cancer. For this meeting, I traveled to Singapore in this sort of quasi-post-pandemic era, and it was very easy, actually. Singapore no longer requires testing to come into the country, and if you're vaccinated, you simply need to fill out an entrance form. It's really a survey, and then with that QR code, you can actually enter the country through an electronic system, and it took just a few minutes this time. And the conference itself, I think, and the hotel are really focused on safety. People are wearing masks inside, which is really, I think, encouraging. Overall, it's been seamless. It feels as though, except for the masks inside, as though it was the travel before the pandemic. So it feels very safe, and it's great to see everybody again, of course, in person, and to be able to have these exchanges with tumor boards in person as well.